Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
How many verses in the first
Oh,
set?
yes. 9 verses. Huh?
9, the first 9. Okay.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome. Today we will recite the 5th chapter and do a little overview of the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam Puran. And Shruti, as always, is leading the chanting. Thank you so much, Shruti. Over to you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Let me do the Devanagari. Yeah. So, yeah.
It's okay, Prabhuji. Yeah, I have the page open on my laptop.
Okay, good. In that case, we will follow this.
No,
Okay.
that's okay. That's okay. I have the same page open on my laptop. So that's
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Narayanaaya. Shri Shuka Uvacha. द्वारीदुद्युनद्या ऋषभः कुरूणां मैत्रेयम् आसीनम् अगाधबोधम् क्षत्तोपसृत्याच्युतभावसिद्ध पप्रच्छ सौशील्यगुणाभितृप्तः.
Lena, would you like to read?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Sukdev Goswami said, Vidur, the best amongst the Kuru dynasty, who was perfect in devotional service to the Lord, thus reached the source of the celestial Ganges river, Hardwar, where Maitreya, the great fathomless, learned sage of the world, was seated. Vidur, who was perfect in gentleness and sanctified in transcendence, inquired from him.
विदुर उवाच सुखाय कर्माणि करोति लोको न तैः सुखं वान्यत् उपारमं वा विन्देत भूयस्तत एव दुःखं यदत्र युक्तं भगवान् वदेन्नः.
Vidur said, O great sage, everyone in this world engages in fruitive activities to attain happiness, but one finds neither satiation nor the mitigation of distress. On the contrary, one is only aggravated by such activities. Please, therefore, give us directions on how one should live for real happiness.
जनस्य कृष्णाद् विमुखस्य दैवाद् अधर्मशीलस्य सुदुःखितस्य अनुग्रहायेह चरन्ति नूनं भूतानि भव्यानि जनार्दनस्य.
Oh, sorry.
O my Lord, great philanthropic souls travel on the earth on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to show compassion to the fallen souls who are averse to the sense of subordination to the Lord.
तत्साधुवर्यादिशवर्त्मसक्षम्नः अधितो भगवान् येन पुंसां हृदि स्थितो यच्छति भक्तिपूते ज्ञानं सत्तत्त्वाधिगमं पुराणम्.
Therefore, O great sage, please give me instruction on the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, so that he who is situated in the heart of everyone can be pleased to impart from within knowledge of the absolute truth in terms of the ancient Vedic principles delivered only to those who are purified by the process of devotional service.
करोति कर्माणि कृतावतारो यान्यात्मतन्त्रो भगवांस्त्र्यधीशः यथा ससर्जाग्र इदं निरीह संस्थाप्य वृत्तिं जगतो विधत्ते.
O great sage, kindly narrate how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the independent, desireless Lord of the three worlds and the controller of all energies, accepts incarnations and creates the cosmic manifestation with perfectly arranged regulative principles for its maintenance.
यथा पुनस्वेक इदं निवेश्य शेते गुहायां सनिवृत्तवृत्तिः योगेश्वराधीश्वर एक एतत् अनुप्रविष्टो बहुधा यथासीत्.
He lies down on his own heart, spread in the form of the sky, and thus placing the whole creation in that space, he expands himself into many living entities, which are manifested as different species of life. He does not have to endeavor for his maintenance, because he is the master of all mystic powers and the proprietor of everything. Thus he is distinct from the living entities.
क्रीडन् विधत्ते द्विजगोऽसुराणां क्षेमाय कर्माण्यवतारभेदैः मनो न तृप्त्यत्यपि शृण्वतां नः सुश्लोकमौलेश्चरितामृतानि.
You may narrate also about the auspicious characteristics of the Lord in his different incarnations for the welfare of the twice-born, the cows and the demigods. Our minds are never satisfied completely, although we continuously hear of his transcendental activities.
यैस्तत्त्वभेदैरधिलोकनाथो लोकान् अलोकान् सह लोकपालान् अचीक्लपद्यत्र हि सर्वसत्त्व निकायभेदोऽधिकृतः प्रतीतः.
The Supreme King of all kings has created different planets and places of habitation, where living entities are situated in terms of the modes of nature and work, and he has created their different kings and rulers.
येन प्रजानाम् उत आत्मकर्म रूपाभिधानां च भिदां व्यदत्त नारायणो विश्वसृगात्मयोनिर् एतच्च नो वर्णय विप्रवर्य.
O chief amongst the Brahmanas, please also describe how Narayana, the creator of the universe, and the self-sufficient Lord has differently created natures, activities, forms, features, and names of different living creatures.
Brilliant, thank you. So we can have a little break there. And so the chapter is entitled Vidur's Talks with Maitreya Rishi. Maitreya Rishi was there at the end with Uddhav when the Lord departed back for the spiritual world. And Vidur met with Uddhav and he asked many questions to Uddhav as well. And eventually Uddhav said, I have to go now to Badrikasham to meet with Narnarayan Rishi, and you can search out Maitreya Rishi, because you should know that Krishna remembered you as he was leaving this world. So that made Vidur very happy. But of course, he was very sad because the Lord left. But he also then found Maitreya Rishi, and he humbly asked him many, many questions, as we can see, such as how one should act for real happiness, how to please the Lord by devotional service, how Krishna incarnates and creates the world, the universe, with all its planets and living entities. Now, with those questions, out of his natural humility, did not inquire from Maitreya directly about the Lord. He was very sensitive. He knew Maitreya would be, he would go into ecstasy if he asked about the Lord directly. So he asked about different subject matters which are for our benefit, actually. So now, up to verse 16, Shruti.
16. Okay.
Okay.
परावरेषां भगवन् व्रतानि श्रुतानि मे व्यासमुखाद् अभीक्ष्णम् अतृप्नुमक्षुल्लसुखावहानां तेषामृते कृष्णकथामृतौघात्.
O my Lord, I have repeatedly heard about these higher and lower statuses of human society from the mouth of Vyasadeva, and I am quite satiated with all these lesser subject matters and their happiness. They have not satisfied me with the nectar of topics about Krishna.
कस्तृप्नुयात्तीर्थपदोऽभिधानान् सत्रेषु वः सूरिभिरीड्यमानात् यः कर्णनाडीं पुरुषस्य यातो भवप्रदां गेहरतिं छिनत्ति.
Who in human society can be satisfied without hearing sufficient talk of the Lord, whose lotus feet are the sum total of all places of pilgrimage, and who is worshipped by great sages and devotees? Such topics can cut off one's bondage to family affection simply by entering the holes of one's ears.
मुनेर्विवक्षुर्भगवद्गुणानां सखापि ते भारतम् आह कृष्णः यस्मिन् नृणां ग्राम्यसुखानुवादैर्मतिर्गृहीतानुहरे कथायाम्.
Your friend, the great sage Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, has already described the transcendental qualities of the Lord in his great work, the Mahabharata. But the whole idea is to draw the attention of the mass of people to Krishna Katha, Bhagavad Gita, through their strong affinity for hearing mundane topics.
सा श्रद्दधानस्य विबद्धमाना विरक्तिम् अन्यत्र करोति पुंसः हरेः पदानुस्मृतिनिर्वृतस्य समस्तदुःखाप्ययम् आशु धत्ते.
For one who is anxious to engage constantly in hearing such topics, Krishna Katha gradually increases his indifferences towards all other things. Such constant remembrance of the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna by the devotee who has achieved transcendental bliss vanquishes all his miseries without delay.
तान् शोच्यान् अविदोऽनुशोचे हरे कथायां विमुखान् अघेन क्षिणोति देवो निमिषस्तु येषाम् आयुर्वृथा वादगति स्मृतीनाम्.
O sage, persons who, because of their sinful activities, are averse to the topics of transcendence and thus ignorant of the purpose of Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, are pitied by the pitiable. I also pity them because I see how their duration of life is spoiled by eternal time while they involve themselves in presentations of philosophical speculation, theoretical ultimate goals of life, and different modes of ritual.
तदस्य कौशारवशर्म धातुर् हरे कथाम् एव कथासु सारम् उद्धृत्य पुष्पेभ्य इवार्तबन्धो शिवाय नः कीर्तयतीर्थकीर्ते.
O Maitreya, O friend of the distressed, the glories of the Supreme Lord can alone do good for people all over the world. Therefore, just as bees collect honey from flowers, kindly describe the essence of all topics, the topics of the Lord.
सवेश्वजन्म स्थिति संयमार्थे कृतावतारः प्रगृहीत शक्तिः चकार कर्माण्यति पूरुषाणि यानीश्वरः कीर्तयतानि मह्यम्.
Kindly chant all those superhuman transcendental activities of the Supreme Controller, the Personality of Godhead, who accepted incarnations fully equipped with all potency for the full manifestation and maintenance of the cosmic creation.
Brilliant, thank you. So, Vidhu, expressing his dissatisfaction with mundane topics, he asks Maharishi to please discuss topics about the Lord. Remembrance of the Lord's lotus feet is the way to achieve transcendence free from misery. Discussion on transcendental topics can cut off one's bondage simply by entering the heroes. Our biggest problem in this world is family. Normally we say, oh yeah, we can only depend on the family. But actually, due to family affection, we'll stay in this world. We'll never leave this world because our attachment to our family is so deep-rooted that we don't have that attachment for the Supreme Lord. And even if we do it side by side, it's not going to be ever enough because the affection for the family will usually outweigh the attachment to the Lord. But what Vidur is saying is, if we do Krishna Katha, talk about Krishna, remember Krishna, his pastimes, then we can also cut these family affectionate ties, not in a callous way. Of course, at the end of the day, we live with everybody, and we live with them in a nice way, and we do show affection, but it shouldn't be that our attachment is so deeply rooted that we can't exit this world. Otherwise, how will we ever become free from misery, from the the laws of karma, this cycle of samsara? How will we ever come out of this if we're not able to cut our attachments to this world? So sometimes it does sound a little callous that we have to cut family affection. It's not cutting family ties, it's just cutting a family affection. Viewing them as servants of the Supreme Lord, viewing them that they are in our, maybe the children are in our care for some time, but actually they belong to the Supreme Lord. That's important. Otherwise, we are thinking they're mine and I'm theirs, which is really not correct. It's not right, because ultimately everything in this world, including relationships, are temporary. What is permanent is our relationship with God, with the Supreme Lord. And we've severed it. We need to re-establish it. And this is the way to do it, by hearing about the Lord and his pastimes and his devotees. Very, very powerful. So the next section is up to verse number 21.
21, is it, Prabhuji?
Yeah, 21. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
श्रीशुक उवाच स एवं भगवान् पृष्टः क्षत्राकौशारवो मुनिः पुंसां निःश्रेयसार्थेन तमाह बहुमानयन्.
Sukadeva Goswami said, the great sage Maitreya Muni, after honoring Vidur very greatly, began to speak at Vidur's request for the greatest welfare of all people.
मैत्रेय उवाच साधु पृष्टं त्वया साधो लोकान् साध्वनुगृह्णता कीर्तिं वितन्वता लोके आत्मनो धोक्षजात्मनः.
Sri Maitreya said, O Vidur, all glory unto you. You have inquired from me of the greatest of all goodness, and thus you have shown your mercy both to the world and to me, because your mind is always absorbed in thoughts of the transcendence.
नैतच्चित्रं त्वयि क्षत्रं बादरायणवीर्यजे गृहीतो नन्यभावेन यत्त्वया हरि ईश्वरः.
O Vidur, it is not at all wonderful that you have so accepted the Lord without deviation of thought, for you were born from the semen of Vyasdeva.
माण्डव्यशापाद् भगवान् प्रजा संयमनो यमः भ्रातुः क्षेत्रे भुजिष्यायां जातः सत्यवती सुतात्.
I know that you are now Vidur due to the cursing of Mandavya Muni, and that formerly you were King Yamraj, the great controller of living entities after their death. You were begotten by the son of Satyavati, Vyasdeva, in the kept wife of his brother.
भवान् भगवतो नित्यं सम्मतः सानुगस्यः यस्य ज्ञानोपदेशाय मादिशत् भगवान् व्रजन्.
Your good self is one of the eternal associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for whose sake the Lord, while going back to his abode, left instructions with me.
Thank you so much. Let's have a little break there. So Maitri Rishi, glorifying the exalted position of Vidur as one of the Lord's eternal associates, he happily agrees to discuss Krishna's pastimes, which are beneficial for all concerned, including the speaker. It's not that the speaker is left out of it. Everybody benefits, the speaker, the inquirer, the audience. It's purificatory for every soul. Maitreya mentioned that he knows that Vidur was previously Yamraj, cursed to be born as a Shudra by Mandavya Muni. So this was an interesting pastime where, as Yamraj, he had to mete out the punishment. And he punished Mandavya Muni. And Mandavya Muni asked him, why did you punish me? It was a terrible punishment as well. It was, do you remember what it was? I think he was made to... some poles were put through his body or something like that. It was really horrible punishment. So Yamraj said to Mandavya Muni that when you were little, you were torturing ants. And that's why you're suffering this karmic reaction. And Mandavya Muni got so angry at Yamraj. He said, for such a small offense, and I was a child, you were acting just like a Shudra. So become a Shudra. So Yamraj became a Shudra in the form of Vidur. But Vidur was extremely wise. And the Lord Krishna left special instructions with Maitri Rishi for Vidur before he departed from this world. So you can see the position of this exalted personality. Vidur is just amazing. So now it's up to verse 29.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
अथ ते भगवल्लीला योगमायोरुबृंहिताः विश्वस्थित्युद्भवान्तार्था वर्णयाम्यनुपूर्वशः.
I shall therefore describe to you the pastimes by which the personality of Godhead extends his transcendental potency for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic world as they occur one after another.
भगवान् एक आसेदम् अग्र आत्मात्मनां विभुः आत्मेच्छानुगतावात्मा नानामत्युपलक्षणः.
The personality of Godhead, the master of all living entities, existed prior to the creation as one without a second. It is by his will and only that creation is made possible, and again everything merges in him. This Supreme Self is symptomized by different names.
स वा एष तदा द्रष्टा नापश्यदृश्यमेकराट् मेने सन्तम् इवात्मानं सुप्तशक्तिरसुप्तदृक्.
The Lord, the undisputed proprietor of everything, was the only seer. The cosmic manifestation was not present at that time, and thus he felt imperfect without his planetary and separated parts and parcels. The material energy was dormant, whereas the internal potency was manifested.
सा वा एतस्य संद्रष्टुः शक्तिः सदसदात्मिका माया नाम महाभाग ययेदं निर्ममे विभुः.
The Lord is the seer, and the external energy, which is same, works as both cause and effect in the cosmic manifestation. O greatly fortunate Vidur, this external energy is known as Maya or illusion, and through her agency only is the entire material manifestation made possible.
कालवृत्त्या तु मायायां गुणमय्याम् अधोक्षजः पुरुषेणात्मभूतेन वीर्यम् आधत्त वीर्यवान्.
The Supreme Living Being in his feature as the transcendental Purusha incarnation, who is the Lord's plenary expansion, impregnates the material nature of three modes, and thus, by the influence of eternal time, the living entities appear.
ततो भवन्महत्तत्त्वम् अव्यक्तात् कालचोदितात् विज्ञानात्मात्म देहस्थम् विश्वं व्यञ्जं स्तमोनुदः.
Thereafter, influenced by the interactions of eternal time, the supreme sum total of matter, called the Mahatattva, became manifested, and in that Mahatattva, the unalloyed goodness, the Supreme Lord sowed the seeds of universal manifestation out of his own body.
सोऽप्यं शगुणकालात्मा भगवद्दृष्टिगोचरः आत्मानं व्यकरोदात्मा विश्वस्यास्य सृक्षया.
Thereafter, the Mahatattva differentiated itself into many different forms as the reservoir of the would-be entities. The Mahatattva is chiefly in the mode of ignorance, and it generates the false ego. It is plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead with full consciousness of creative principles and time for fructification.
महत्तत्त्वाद् विकुर्वाणाद् अहं तत्त्वं व्यजायत कार्यकारणकर्त्रात्मा भूतेन्द्रियमनोमयः वैकारिकस्तैजसश्च तामसश्चेत्यहं त्रिधा.
Mahatattva, or the great causal truth, transforms into false ego, which is manifested in three phases: cause, effect, and the doer. All such activities are on the mental plane and are based on the material elements, gross senses, and mental speculation. The false ego is represented in three different modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance.
Hare Krishna. So firstly, Maitri describes the creation process, and describes the prior state as per the Chatusloki. Chatusloki we went through in Canto 2, and that only Bhagwan exists in the beginning. Whilst the internal energy is always manifested, the Lord, missing the forgetful sleeping conditioned souls wanted to create the external energy, the cosmic manifestation, to give these souls another opportunity to come back to him. So this is all part of the Lord's plan, that he wants us to go back to him. He's missing us. We've forgotten him. We don't care about him, but he loves us. We're like his lost children. And all of this trouble that he goes through in terms of creation of the material world is to facilitate us going back to him. So he creates this world which is perfectly imperfect. This place is so perfect that it's imperfect. And what I mean by that is we try to enjoy, but we always fail. Our mood is always to enjoy, but we always fail because of the nature of this world. And our mood is enjoying because we're part of the supreme enjoyer, Sri Krishna. So we want to enjoy, and that's natural for us. We want to be happy. We don't want to be unhappy. So we can only really be happy eternally at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, not in this world. But we try to be happy in this world, but we never can be. That's why it's perfectly imperfect. So by his glance, Mahatattva is activated, which transforms into false ego. So Mahatattva is predominated by mode of ignorance. Mahatattva is this unspecified material energy. We'll see how that then divides itself in the coming verses. So, let's see how many verses there are. Up to 37, please, Shruti. 37.
Yes, Prabhuji, 37.
Thank you.
Aham tattvad vikurvanan mano vaikarikad abhut vaikarikascha ye deva arthabhivyanjanam yatah.
The false ego is transformed into mind by interaction with the mode of goodness. All the demigods who control the phenomenal world are also products of the same principle, namely the interaction of false ego and the mode of goodness.
Taijasānīndriyānyeva jnānakarmamayāni ca.
The senses are certainly products of the mode of passion in false ego, and therefore philosophical speculative knowledge and fruitative activities are predominantly products of the mode of passion.
Tāmaso bhūta sūkṣmādir yatah kham lingam ātmanah.
The sky is a product of sound, and sound is the transformation of egoistic ignorance. In other words, the sky is the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul.
Kālamāyāṃ shayogena bhagavad-víkshitam nabhah nabhaso nusritam sparsham vikurvan-nirmame-nilam.
Thereafter, the personality of Godhead glanced over the sky, partly mixed with eternal time and external energy, and thus developed the touch sensation, from which the air in the sky was produced.
Anilopi vikurvano nabhasorubalanvitah sasarjarupatan matram jyotirlokasya lochanam.
Thereafter, the extremely powerful air interacting with the sky generated the form of sense perception, and the perception of form transformed into electricity, the light to see the world.
Anilenanvitam jyotir vikurvat paravikshitam adhattamhorasamayam kalamayam shayogatah.
When electricity was surcharged in the air and was glanced over by the Supreme, At that time, by a mixture of eternal time and external energy, there occurred the creation of water and taste.
ज्योतिषाम्भोनु संसृष्टम् विकुर्वद्ब्रह्म वीक्षितम् महीम् गन्धगुणाम् आधात् कालमायांश योगतः.
Thereafter, the water produced from electricity was glanced over by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and mixed with eternal time and external energy. Thus, it was transformed into the earth, which is qualified primarily by smell.
भूतानां नभ आदीनां यद्यद्भव्यावरावरम् तेषां परानुसंसर्गात् यथा संख्यं गुणान् विदुः.
O gentle one, of all the physical elements, beginning from the sky down to the earth, all the inferior and superior qualities are due only to the final touch of the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I think
37, I thought it was 39. Sorry.
yeah, no, it's okay. No problem at all. All the 5 basic elements. So now Krishna, Maitreya Rishi is explaining the process of creation. This is a secondary creation. The primary creation is when the Lord breathes out, all the universes come out. And the secondary creation is when effectively later on Lord Brahma will get involved. But this is all part of the secondary creation. All of the 5 basic elements and the qualities were then created along with the mind, demigods, senses, through the interaction of false ego with the modes of goodness, passion, ignorance. In every instance, the Lord's glance is the finishing touch. This is the important thing. So just to give a little bit of an idea from a diametrical point of view, diagramical point of view, we have Mahavishnu, Karandakshay Vishnu, and his glance impregnates the jivas into material nature. This is the pradhan. Pradhan is undifferentiated material nature. And then that is extended into the Mahat Tattva. And the Mahat Tattva has, in the mode of ignorance, gives rise to ahankar, false ego. And then the 3 modes of material nature come about. And then again, through the glance of the Lord, the different senses, the mind and the senses, the gross elements, the 5 gross elements, the sense objects themselves, everything manifests. So there's quite a art, quite a science to it, and it's quite complex. And Bhagavatam, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, discusses this topic in some detail in the 3rd canto, in this canto. So now it's up to 43.
Okay.
Okay.
एते देवा कला विष्णोः कालमायांशलिङ्गिनः नानात्वात् स्वक्रियान् ईशाः प्रोचुः प्राञ्जलयो विभुम्.
The controlling deities of all the above-mentioned physical elements are empowered expansions of Lord Vishnu. They are embodied by eternal time under the external energy, and they are his parts and parcels. Because they were entrusted with different functions of universal duties and were unable to perform them, they offered fascinating prayers to the Lord as follows.
Deva uchuhu namamate deva padaravindam प्रपन्नतापोपशमातपत्रम् यन्मूलकेतायतयोञ्जसोरु संसारदुःखं बहिः उत्क्षिपन्ति.
The demigod said, "O Lord, your lotus feet are like an umbrella for the surrendered souls, protecting them from all the miseries of material existence. All the sages under that shelter throw off all material miseries. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet."
धातर्यतस्मिन् भव ईश जीवास् तापत्रयेणाभिहता न शर्म आत्मन् लभन्ते भगवंस्तवाङ्घ्रे छायां सविद्याम् अतः आश्रयेम.
O Father, O Lord, O Personality of Godhead, the living entities in the material world can never have any happiness because they are overwhelmed by three kinds of miseries. Therefore, they take shelter of the shade of your lotus feet, which are full of knowledge, and we also thus take shelter of them.
मार्गन्ते यत्ते मुखपद्मनीडैश्छन्दसुपर्णैर्ऋषयो विविक्ते यस्याघमार्षोदसरिद्वरायाः पदं पदं तीर्थपदः प्रपन्ना.
The lotus feet of the Lord are by themselves the shelter of all places of pilgrimage. The great clear-minded sages, carried by the wings of the Vedas, always search after the nest of your lotus-like face. Some of them surrender to your lotus feet at every step by taking shelter of the best of rivers, the Ganges, which can deliver one from all sinful reactions.
यच्छ्रद्धया श्रुतवत्याय भक्त्या समृज्यमाने हृदये वधाय ज्ञानेन वैराग्यबलेन धीरा व्रजेम तत्तेऽङ्घ्रिसरोजपीठम्.
Simply by hearing about your lotus feet with eagerness and devotion, and by meditating upon them within the heart, one at once becomes enlightened with knowledge, and on the strength of detachment, one becomes specified. We must therefore take shelter of the sanctuary of your lotus feet.
विश्वस्य जन्म स्थिति संयमार्थे कृतावतारस्य पदाम्बुजं ते व्रजेम सर्वे शरणं यतीश स्मृतं प्रयच्छत्यभयं स्वपुंसाम्.
O Lord, you assume incarnations for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. And therefore, we all take shelter of your lotus feet because they always award remembrance and courage to your devotees.
Wonderful. Thank you. Let me just share the screen. So, the controlling deities of the physical elements. So each of the elements have their devatas, are empowered expansions of Lord Vishnu. And they were entrusted with different functions of universal duties. These are the devata demigods who are Jivatma, but they have particular desires to assist the Lord in organizing the affairs of this universe. So the Lord empowers them, and that's why they are empowered expansions of Lord Vishnu. And they're entrusted with these different functions so that the universe can run in an orderly manner. However, they were unable to perform them, and thus they offered fascinating prayers to the Lord. The demigods prayed for Krishna's protection and guidance, taking shelter of his lotus feet. By meditating on these feet, one crosses the material ocean, gaining knowledge, then detachment, then a peaceful heart. So these prayers are very important. So now it's up to text number 47. It's quite a long chapter. I think it's 51 verses in total. It's up to 47.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
यच्छानुबन्धे सति देहगेहे ममाहम् इत्यूढदुराग्रहाणाम् पुंसां सुदूरं वसतोऽपि पुर्यां भजेम तत्ते भगवन् पदाब्जम्.
O Lord, persons who are entangled by undesirable eagerness for the temporary body and kinsmen, and who are bound by thoughts of mine and I, are unable to see your lotus feet, although your lotus feet are situated within their bodies. But let us take shelter of your lotus feet.
तान्वै ह्यसद्वृत्तिभिरक्षिभिर्ये पराहृतान्तर्मनसः परेश अथो न पश्यन्त्युरुगाय नूनम् ये ते पदन्यासविलासलक्ष्याः.
O great Supreme Lord, offensive persons whose internal vision has been too affected by external materialistic activities cannot see your lotus feet, but they are seen by your pure devotees, whose one and only aim is to transcendentally enjoy your activities.
पानेन ते देवकथा सुधायाः प्रवृद्धभक्त्या विशदाशयाये वैराग्यसारं प्रतिलभ्य बोधं यथाञ्जसान्येयुरकुण्ठधिष्ण्यम्.
O Lord, persons who because of their serious attitude attain the stage of enlightened devotional service, achieve the complete meaning of renunciation and knowledge, and attain the Vaikuntha Loka in the spiritual sky simply by drinking the nectar of your topics.
तथा परे चात्मसमाधियोग बलेन जित्वा प्रकृतिं बलिष्ठां त्वामेव धीरा पुरुषं विशन्ति तेषां श्रमः स्यान्न तु सेवया ते.
Others who are pacified by means of transcendental self-realization and have conquered over the modes of nature by dint of strong power and knowledge also enter into you. But for them there is much pain, whereas the devotee simply discharges devotional service and thus feels no such pain.
Wonderful. So the demigods pray that those pure devotees who are free from material attachment and offenses can take shelter of your lotus feet, and they can discuss the topics of your pastimes. And joyfully they attain Vaikuntha, whereas those who strive to attain success on their own strength in this world, without considering the mercy of the Supreme Lord, they suffer pain. Offensive persons whose internal vision has been too affected by external materialistic activities cannot see the Lord's lotus feet. They think that everything is done because they are in the center of everything. Not understanding that actually we are not the doer. We can't do anything. The Lord is doing everything. We simply have a little desire, that's all. But they are seen by pure devotees. These lotus feet are seen by the pure devotees, whose one and only aim is to transcendentally enjoy his activities. Persons who, because of their serious attitude, attain the stage of enlightened devotional service, achieve the complete meaning of renunciation and knowledge, and they attain the Vaikuntha Loka in the spiritual sky, simply by drinking the nectar of your topics. So we are very fortunate, I have to say, that we are able to dive into the nectar of the Bhagavatam, which is such an amazing scripture. So now to the end. Huh?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
तत्ते वयं लोकसि सृक्षयाद्य त्वयानुसृष्टास्त्रिभिरात्मभिः स्म सर्वे वियुक्ताः स्वविहारतन्त्रम् न शक्नुमस्तत्प्रतिहर्तवेते.
O original person, we are therefore but yours only. Although we are your creatures, we are born one after another under the influence of three modes of nature, and for this reason we are separated in action. Therefore, after the creation, we could not act concertedly for your transcendental pleasure.
यावद्बलिं तेजहरामकाले यथा वयं चान्नम् अदाम यत्र यथोभयेषां त इमे हि लोका बलिं हरन्तोऽन्नम् अदन्त्यनूहा.
O unborn one, please enlighten us regarding the ways and means by which we can offer you all enjoyable grains and commodities, so that both we and all other living entities in this world can maintain ourselves without disturbance and can easily accumulate the necessities of life, both for you and for ourselves.
त्वं न सुराणाम् असि सान्वयानां कूटस्थ आद्य पुरुषः पुराणः त्वं देवशक्त्यां गुणकर्मयोनो रेतस्त्वजायां तविम् आददेजः.
You are the original person, founder of all the demigods and the orders of different gradations. Yet you are the oldest and are unchanged. O Lord, you have no source of superior. You have impregnated the external energy with the semen of the total living entities, yet you are unborn.
ततो वयं मत्प्रमुखाय दर्थे बभूविमात्मन् करवाम किं ते त्वं न स्वचक्षुः परिदेहि शक्त्या देवक्रियार्थे यदनुग्रहाणाम्.
Hey.
O Supreme Self, please give us, who are created in the beginning from the Mahatattva, the total cosmic energy, your kind direction on how we shall act. Kindly award us your perfect knowledge and potency, so that we can render you service in the different departments of subsequent creation. Hare Krishna.
Very good. Thank you so much. So, regretting the inability to do their service in their different departments of creation, the demigods ask Krishna to instruct them how to act for his pleasure. Since they have all been separately born, they did not know how to act in unity. So at this stage of the universal creation, the 23 elements, namely the Mahatattva, Hankar, ego, 5 subtle and gross elements, 10 senses, and the mind, that's the 23 elements, they exist in an unmixed state. So they have not yet mixed up. They have not yet been given the ability to interact. Therefore, the creative activities are suspended. Hence the prayers by the deities of these different elements to please help us understand how to now coordinate. So this is the end of chapter 3 and chapter 5, and then we'll see chapter 6 goes into creation of the universal form. This is going to now go into some detail about the creative process. Very interesting to understand, very important to understand as well, because that shows us the greatness of the Supreme Lord and how his glance, his mercy is everything. Otherwise, we are always thinking, I am the source of this and that, but actually it's the Supreme Lord who is the source of everything. Surinder, anything you'd like to add, please?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat everybody, Nitai Gora Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Sri Nityananda Chandram Patita Sharanadam Gauradam Tam Bhajeham. So there is guaranteed benefit of the service to the Lord, Shri Krishna. Tomara samsare kariba sevana nahiba phalera bhagi. I will serve your family and will never take any share of the result for myself. This is the mood of Sharanagati. Similarly, we may be in family life and we should understand that the family members, they're devotees of Krishna. Therefore, we should, as much as possible, we serve our family members who are Vaishnavas. And in this way, we are doing Bhakata Seva Parama Siddhi. And so we should always serve. If you can serve Sri Hari, Guru Vaishnava, with your body, mind, and speech according to your capacity and qualification, you must definitely get eternal spiritual benefit. Those who serve sincerely without duplicity are dear to the Lord, and those who serve going beyond their very capacity are intimate, dearmost associates with the Lord. It is necessary to always have enthusiasm, firmness, and patience in service. Utsaha nischaya dhairya tat karma pravartanat. One must first have firm determination, firm faith, and follow regulative principles. The Lord is dear and near. If you do not serve the dearmost Lord, what will you do then? If you do not serve through hearing, chanting, taking the holy name, etc., will you not be forced to grasp onto material life? Will you not try to increase the business at your shop? Will you not hold your children closer to your chest? There is no other way for the Jiva souls except for continuous loving service to the Lord. It is good to be dissatisfied or humble in one's service. There is nothing bad about it. So in this way, Prabhu, we should always try to be in the service mood and in the mood of Sharanagati, to serve Hari, Guru, and Vaishnava, to please them. So also in this very chapter could summarily be condensed in one of the bhajan, which is Bhajahure Mana Srinanda Nandana Abhaya Charana Vendare. So we are sort of preaching to our own mind to always to worship Nanda Nandana, means Shri Krishna. And therefore, by worshipping Shri Krishna, we will become fearless. And it goes in the bhajan about all those, it says, Edhana Jovana Putra Parijana Iti Kriyache Paratitire. Yeah, about wealth and Putra Parijana means, sons and family life, the mundane family life. There is no actual happiness. It's all temporary and flickering. Kamala dala jala jivana talamala. Therefore, bhajahu hari pada nitir. So advice is to always worship Shri Krishna, Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Yes, in this way, and it describes Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Mandanam, Pada Sevanam, Dasya Pujana, Sakhijana, Atma Nivedana. Govinda Das Abhilasare. So following the footstep of Govinda Das, we should also aspire like that to engage in devotional service, to practice these 9 processes of devotional service. So this will be very good. And therefore there is guaranteed benefit of the service to the Lord and Hari, Guru, and Vaishnava. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Anybody else? Any any comments, any questions? I'd like to thank Shruti and also Lena for reading, Shruti especially for the Sanskrit recitation. It's actually an incredible blessing to be able to, normally we would just read the English, but to also be able to hear the Sanskrit of the Srimad Bhagavatam is very, very special. So I'd like to congratulate yourself and Ananda Leela when you're not here, she takes over, and feel very fortunate, very blessed to be in your association, in your company, to be able to do all this. So thank you very, very much.
We are blessed to be able to do this, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you so much.
Krishna. We also all blessed, thanks to the
Shruti, yes.
Yes, thank you so much, Shruti.
Mhm.
All Lord's mercy, all the Lord's mercy, nothing else. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Beautiful
Hare Krishna.
recital.
Thank you, Shruti. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Ki jai.
And Leena, thank you for the darshan. Very beautiful.